Got her yet again. My streak continues.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, it happened to me.
It happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, are you ready to learn more about Jesus Christ today?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just as a refresher, last time, Jesus started talking shit at the synagogues and saying that Isaiah is prophesying about him. The elite Jews got mad at that. Now Jesus is going to go and collect, well, previously, Jesus was then going to go and collect some disciples, like their Magic the Gathering cards. He even renames one of them, but forgoes the naked wrestling in the desert and grabbing him by the dick. He tells some fishermen to do their jobs, and they are amazed by how much of a dick he is, so they follow him like a shady pickup artist. And then he expels a demon from some naked dude's asshole. And then he wanted a sandwich from Peter's mom, but she was sick, so Jesus just heals her right up so that she can make him some lunch.
I mean, sandwiches are pretty good.
Yeah.
But I feel like if your mom's sick, you can just make your own fucking sandwich.
Yeah, I don't know why
Jesus...
aren't
these adult men?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
I don't know why he felt the need to be like, you know what, bitch? Get up, arise, and make me a bologna sandwich. But anyway, so that happened last time. This time, though, we got a lot that's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Jesus is going to be walking along and he hypnotizes some tax collector named Matthew Levi and tells him to follow like a good boy. Then Matthew is compelled to throw a banquet, probably due to the hypnosis, and Jesus probably wanted some free booze. But anyways, Jesus ends up sitting down with sinners and taxmen and eating with them. Obviously the Jewish elite elder people, they didn't like that and they asked him about it, and Jesus was like, fuck off. I'll eat with whomever I fucking want to, and I won't be hearing any lip about it.
Yep.
And so he says verbatim.
Yeah.
Red letters. Then the uptight people complain about John's disciples fasting, but Jesus's friends just keep on fucking eating like disrespectful dicks. Jesus then looks at them like they were dumb as fuck and said with a full mouth of food, so the fuck what? We're hungry, so we're going to eat, motherfucker. Also, I'm dying soon, so, they can fast when I'm dead. Jesus then gets stupid drunk and complains about the wine glasses. He said that he was insulted with old wine glasses when they should have used the current year's edition of the wine glasses. And then he said, this is what I think of as bullshit. And then he proceeded to piss in the wine glass because that was last year's edition, and that's all it was good for.
That sounds really rude.
It does. In another time, he would have also taken an upper decker in the bathroom, but,
No.
No. A few days later, though, Jesus sobers up finally, and he goes to this Bethesda pool, this pool at Bethesda, and he starts healing people. He heals this one paralyzed guy that he ends up seeing later, and he goes, listen, I healed you and all. But listen, look, man, if you don't stop sinning, maybe something else bad's going to happen to you. Like, you fall down into a pit and break your shit.
What?
So, just stop that sinning, mate.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah. He's like a mafia don.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, this was happening on the Sabbath, Jesus like healing and threatening people. And so the uptight Jews started to persecute Jesus, which the persecution then is pretty much the same as it is now. It's really just shit talking about him and asking him questions. But Jesus was like really dramatic about being persecuted. He was like, oh, persecution. And, but in his defense, Jesus goes, oh, wait till my Father hears about this. And he also throws in a classic, do you know who the fuck I am? And he tells them that if they just unquestioningly believe in him, they will be spared burning in hell forever. So if you don't believe in him, there will be hell to pay for eternity.
Right.
Jesus then talks about how he's working for his mafia don boss father and how he's better than John the Baptist. I don't know why he has to teabag John the Baptist, but then Jesus lays down a new law that you can do good shit on the Sabbath, which really pissed off the Jewish elites. And so they started to plot about how to kill Jesus, and they were plotting with Herod's people for some reason. Finally, Jesus appoints 12 apostles, disciples / apostles, And then he fingers the traitor immediately. Now, I'm not exactly sure what kind of fingering this is. I don't know if he just points him out or if it's literally a butt blasting, but, he does it. So thanks for joining in today for this Bible study.
No, we're going to read it.
What?
Yeah, we're going to read it because you say some crazy shit.
But it's better than what's in the Bible.
I mean, fair, but I guarantee that butt blasting is not a term that's used in the Bible. So maybe you should just read it to be sure everyone knows exactly what's there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, heathens?
How y'all doing?
So apparently I was wrong about a few things in today's Bible study.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you should never wonder why some Christians might be offended by our channel.
I mean, I don't wonder why they are.
You already know?
I mean, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I mean, I talk about Jesus butt blasting Judas with his fingers, so.
So I assume we can go ahead and start reading this?
Yes.
Okay, well, so today we're going to be going through some Matthew, Mark, Luke. I think we might also have some John in here. Yeah, we've got all 4 Gospels today, y'all.
Yeah, so the one John part is actually stipulated by the authors of the Daily Bible here, that it's that particular story is only found in John, because obviously the 2nd century people that had no connection to the 1st century people knew better than the 1st century people.
I mean, yeah, obviously. The further away from an event you get by decades and hundreds of years, the more clear everything becomes.
No, that's not how history works. But okay, that's how history is working for Christians at this point.
Yeah. So, you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna start off talking about Matthew, or Levi, all right?
Okay.
Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus?
Yes.
Sitting at the tax collector's booth. Follow me, Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him.
Okay.
Then Levi held a great banquet for Jesus at his house, and a large crowd of tax collectors and others were eating with them. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law who belonged to their sect complained to his disciples, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said, It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners.
Right.
So they're gonna harken back to this, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, a couple of times. This is actually found in Hosea chapter 6.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So just so you know where that comes from, this is mentioned multiple times today in the read. Okay. So, let's see, where are we? They said to him, John's disciples often fast and pray, and so do the disciples of the Pharisees, but yours go on eating and drinking. Jesus answered, can you make the friends of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them. In those days, they will fast. Okay.
Yeah. So this is obviously kind of foreshadowing to the fact that Jesus is going to die and he's going to leave the disciples or apostles here on earth. And I guess at that point they'll fast.
I guess. Okay, so he told them this parable. This is one of the things I really dislike about the Jesus character, is if he is God on earth, right?
Right.
Why doesn't he just tell people things? Why does it have to be shaded in these parables? It seems like it's the word of God. This is what you want people to do. And if they don't do these things, they're sinners, then they'll be punished forever. So why don't you just tell them clearly? This makes the whole parable thing, the whole parable game that Jesus plays makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the reason why the parables are in there is due to the mystery cult nature of early Christianity, especially at this point, because the parables are supposed to be confusing. Because people outside of the faith that haven't been inducted into it and haven't been told the meanings of it, they won't understand it. It's only the initiated that'll understand it. It's kind of hey, if you sign up for my PayPal, you'll be able to understand what the fuck I'm talking about when I say boogaloo,
Right. I mean, I get that, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like it's supposedly, what he says is supposedly so important. And they want everybody on the planet to know about it, right? Because they want everybody on the planet to follow God.
Right.
but then they're not clear about it. So I don't know. That shit just makes no sense to me. Anyway. All right. So you ready for the parable?
Yes.
No one tears a piece out of a new garment to patch an old one. Otherwise, they will have torn the new garment, and the patch from the new will not match the old. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the new wine will burst the skins. The wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, new wine must be poured into new wineskins. And no one, after drinking old wine, wants the new, for they say the old is better.
Okay. I don't know why he's so fucking particular about wine and wineskins.
I mean, I don't either. To me, like...
Also, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
It's not important to talk about like bodily autonomy or anything like that, but it's super important to talk about how to fucking use wine and wineskins, how to store wine appropriately, which I guess is probably important since that's what they have to drink.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Water at that point was probably real sketch. So yeah, wine was probably the best way to hydrate maybe. But I mean, honestly, like, I don't know, like what were wineskins? Like, were they the ball sacks of donkeys or something?
I don't know. I mean, I think they made them out of leather.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Ball sacks would be made out of leather.
But I mean, donkey ball sacks would make really small wineskins. I mean, the smallest wineskins I could see possible is like those giant like cow or horse nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, but y'all, you know those really small like little wine glasses that they use sometimes for wine?
Who's they? Who needs a small wine glass?
I don't know, but I feel like Shannon just like rolled over. Like wherever she's at, she just rolled over and it's like, oh, what the fuck?
I mean, the wine glasses that I have are like fucking giant. Half a bottle wine glass.
Are they mega pints?
They're mega pints. Anyway, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, but do you know the little mini wine glass bottles? They're like little wine glass bottles that it's supposed to just hold a little
wine
bit.
Glasses or wine bottles?
Sorry, I meant wine glass.
And they're tiny?
They're like small. I've seen them used before. Like it's supposed to be very...
Like with a stem?
Yeah, it's got a stem.
Are they
everything.
like Barbie? Are they like toy things that some people use as a joke? Or?
I don't think so. I don't know.
They can't be real. I mean, I've seen the tiny little cups that churches use, not Catholic churches, but like...
Oh, maybe the thing I'm thinking, because I'm finding some on Google right now, but they're labeled as shot glasses. They're just like, I guess they're just really fancy shot glasses is what I'm thinking about.
Oh, okay.
Never mind me. Anyways, go ahead with the story.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to Bethesda.
Okay.
Sometime later, at some point, we don't know when or how long has passed, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now, also, I'd like to mention the way that they describe these stories with Jesus and the large groups that are gathering and all the different kinds of people and people are traveling to be there, yet no one at that time wrote about it, which is really weird. So let's continue. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. What is a colonnade?
Oh, well, so I actually covered this in Monday's video.
Oh, I definitely didn't pay attention.
Oh, no. Well, we're recording this on a Sunday, so that video is coming out tomorrow.
Okay, good. I didn't do anything wrong.
So, no. So there's this pool, and there's like these columns that are surrounding it, and that's
what don't
what
they
it's
just say
talking
columns?
About. I don't know.
Okay.
Covered colonnades.
COLONNADES.
Yeah, they're like columns, but I guess there's just like there's supposed to be like a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
And there's it's just columns.
Okay, yeah. It's fine. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied. Is like using invalid now, is that like a term that could get you into trouble?
I don't know.
I don't either. Someone in the comments yell at me about saying invalid read 5 or 6 times today, and that'll teach me.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I mean, you'll get that regardless. Like, why the fuck aren't you up on the lingo?
Don't be mad at me. It's in the Bible. I didn't write it. Also, I don't follow it. So we're just conveying information here. Okay. I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. They stirred water in pools? Maybe. They didn't have like pumps to... Anyway.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. Then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat and walk. At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. After 38 years of not walking.
Come on, bitch. Get up. There's no way your legs have atrophied.
I feel like this is not a true story. Also note at the time wrote about it. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And we know this because there are such good records of it happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
No, not true. That's not true. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, it is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat. Dude, if you go to fucking yoga on the Sabbath, you can take your goddamn mat. Like, I don't know. Yoga is a relaxing thing. It's, for some people.
Yeah, but it's considered work. Like, you can't even carry sticks. Why would you carry a mat?
Because you're doing an activity, a relaxation activity, something that you enjoy doing, a hobby on your day off.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it's more about carrying the mat, because carrying the mat is like work.
This is so dumb. You ready?
Yes.
He replied, the man who made me well said to me, pick up your mat and walk. So they asked him, who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk? The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, see, you are well again. Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you.
It feels like a threat, Jesus.
The fuck? So here's the thing. If he was sinning, why'd you heal him? Like, I feel like a period of not sinning before you heal him, but you're like, you heal him and then you say, stop sinning or something worse is going to happen. Like, this is some mafia shit.
Yeah. I mean, what was the invalid on the floor, like his, what seems to be entire life? Like, how was he sinning? Like, was he cursing people as they walked by? Was he masturbating on them? Like, what was he doing? I don't really know.
Maybe he was pissing in the water, in the pool. Like, that's rude.
Yeah, but he would noticeably be pissing because, like, he's got to crawl up there and then he's probably got to sit in the pool. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what he would be doing to sin in the first place.
I don't either. Anyway, he could play poker while he's sitting there. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be a sin for some of them.
Yeah. The man went away and told the Jewish leaders it was Jesus who had made him well.
Snitch.
You know, it's weird. Jesus, when he said this, he didn't tell him his name.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if this fucker knows that snitches get stitches.
Okay, so because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, like good deeds, fucking rude, right? The Jewish leaders began to persecute him. In his defense, Jesus said to them, my Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working. For this reason, they tried all the more to kill him. Not only was he breaking the Sabbath, but he was even calling God his own Father, making himself equal with God. Okay. That seems like a good reason to kill a person, right? Yeah. Okay, Jesus gave them this answer. Very truly, I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. This is also not true, like in reality, but okay. Yes, and he will show him even greater works than these, so that you will be amazed. For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give it. Moreover, the Father judges no one. Not true. He's a judgy fuck. We all know it. We just read the Old Testament. We know better. This is bullshit, Jesus. Come on now. Come on now.
This is bullshit, Jesus.
But he has entrusted all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. Whoever does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. Very truly, I tell you, if you have to say something that you're saying is true before you say it, I feel like it's not true.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever is, it's like, I'm not racist, but very truly, I tell you, I don't know. It has the same vibe to me. Anyway, very truly I tell you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. Very truly I tell you, a time is coming and now has come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself, and he has given him authority to judge, because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done what is good will rise to live, and those who have done what is evil will rise to be condemned. So either way, we're having a fucking zombie apocalypse. And I'm telling you, this is why you have to prep. You need fucking protein bars. You need lots of fucking toilet paper. I'm just saying, get your shit together, because either way, good, bad, or ugly, zombies are coming.
Yeah.
It says so right here.
Okay.
All right. We're in John. We were already in John. We're still in John. You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to continue. By myself, I can do nothing. This is still Jesus talking, blah, 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 right? And of course, they have these quotes written down from sources at the time. That's not true. That's false.
No, yeah. Definitely false.
I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just, because he says so. For I seek not to please myself, but him who sent me. If I testify about myself, my testimony is not true. I feel like he's just saying what I say is true, but if I say something about myself, it's not true.
Right.
Why would you lie? I don't know. This is weird. Anyway,
maybe it's like, I haveth 8 inches in my trousers.
Right. Guys have a really weird idea of what 8 inches is. But anyways, we'll continue.
I mean, I just use a ruler.
What?
I'm just saying, in order to tell like inches, I'd have to use a ruler.
Right. Okay. There is another who testifies in my favor, and I know that his testimony about me is true. You have sent to John, and he has testified to the truth. Not that I accept human testimony. So John tells the truth. I don't accept human testimony, but I mention it that you may be saved. John was a lamp that burned and gave light, and you chose for a time to enjoy his light.
Right.
Okay. So John has testified truth. Jesus doesn't accept human testimony at all, but John is light. But also Jesus has testimony weightier than that of John, unless he's talking about himself, and then what he says about himself is not true.
Right.
This is clear as mud. For the works that the Father has given me to finish, the very works that I am doing, testify that the Father has sent me, and the Father who sent me has himself testified concerning me, except they don't hear the voice of God. Right? So that's not true. You have never heard his voice nor seen his form. So the Father who has sent Jesus has testified himself concerning Jesus, but people have never heard his voice nor seen his form, nor does his word dwell in them.
Right.
What kind of sense does any of this make?
I mean, it makes sense to Jesus.
It doesn't make sense to anyone. For you do not believe the one he sent. You study the scriptures diligently because you think that in them you have eternal life. These are the very scriptures that testify about me, yet you refuse to come to me to have life. So for the apologists that say that Jesus is not written about in the Old Testament, I just have to point out, you need to go and look in John chapter 5, somewhere around verse, I don't know, maybe 40-ish. It says right here, these are the very scriptures, the scriptures that the Jews study, right?
Yeah.
These are the very scriptures that testify about me. There you go. So your Bible says the Old Testament testifies about Jesus. Okay. So we don't even need to discuss that anymore.
No, but see, here's the curious thing.
Okay.
Is that most apologists will be like, well, yeah, the Old Testament's about Jesus, or it predicts Jesus, prophesizes Jesus, but that just means that he really came and he really did resurrect.
But they say, there are some of them that say that the Old Testament does not talk about Jesus.
Oh, well, I mean, that's not really Christian apologists or New Testament people. That's more like critics of that particular argument, that of prophecy.
Okay.
So they say that the Old Testament doesn't have prophecies about Jesus, or Jesus didn't fulfill prophecies in the Old Testament.
Well, whoever says that is full of shit. because it literally does. And it says in the New Testament that it does. So there, I just stuck my tongue out.
Okay.
Because that's how mature adults handle things. I do not accept glory from human beings. You do. You ask for it all the fucking time. All you want is glory.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Glory be to the Father.
And to the Son.
And his nutsack.
You're supposed to say Holy Spirit, but whatever.
Fuck.
But I know you. I know that you do not have the love of God in your hearts. I have come in my Father's name and you do not accept me. But if someone else comes in his name, you will accept him. I don't really think so, but okay. How can you believe since you accept glory from one another, but do not seek the glory that comes from the only God? But do not think I will accuse you before the Father. Your accuser is Moses, on whom your hopes are set. If you believed in Moses, you would believe in me, for he wrote about me. So to the same fucking people who say that Jesus isn't in the Old Testament, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But since you do not believe what he wrote, how are you going to believe what I say? At that time, Jesus went through the grain field. Okay, so we're done with whatever the fuck all that was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got anything to say about any of that?
No, I mean, other than, Moses talking about him. I mean, it's commonly thought by Christians that the Old Testament is really it's like a pretext to Jesus coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we noted that when we were reading the Old Testament, that a lot of stuff sounds very messianic and stuff. And there were some things that were obviously about the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to have, Moses, talk about him or prophesy about him. I mean, I would expect that, but also I'm from the point of view that the New Testament is created based off of the Old Testament. And so yeah.
Well, I mean, and Jews expected a Messiah. Jews are still waiting for a Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is part of the Jewish tradition. So the idea that the OT is messianic and predicts Jesus is prophetic and predicts Jesus. That's just part of their theology,
especially for the early Christians. The Jewish Christians, they definitely thought that the Old Testament was prophetic for Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue on. At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath." Fucking eating? They're eating. They're not working the field. They're walking through a field and are hungry and picked to eat.
Yeah.
Anyway, he answered, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you read in the law that the priests on the Sabbath duty in the temple desecrate the Sabbath and yet are innocent?" I don't know that they are innocent, but okay. "I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, I desire mercy, not sacrifice." There it is again.
Right.
Okay, back to Hosea. Okay. "You would not have condemned the innocent." Then he said to them, "The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath."
Okay. I mean, I feel like this is saying that God or the Lord, whatever, doesn't desire sacrifices, which is actually kind of a new thing. I mean, God always wanted sacrifices.
Well, yeah, but the Jews at this time, there was a lot going on in that area of the world at this time. And it's not that they just didn't want to travel to the temple on their, quarterly or annually or whatever basis they needed to do all of their feasts and all of that. It's not necessarily that they didn't want to. I mean, I'm sure that was part of it, but also it's that it was not really feasible for a lot of them.
Right.
And so they're obviously looking for a change. They want something to change. And so part of that change is moving away from the whole sacrificing all this for, these number of things and this kind of things for this exact thing and all that other shit. They want to move away from that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it seems reasonable that their Messiah would also move away from those kind of things, right? So that they can move away from those things.
Right.
I don't know. That just seems reasonable to me. Anyway, on another Sabbath, he he went into the synagogue and was teaching, and a man was there whose right hand was shriveled. The Pharisees and the teachers of the law were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. All these details make me believe even they don't do any favors to themselves in trying to convince somebody that it's real. All the details, because this, again, not written at the time. Mm-hmm. So all these details obviously cannot be known.
Right.
This is clearly made up.
Right. I'm glad that you can recognize that, because I'm going to tell you exactly where it comes from.
Okay, do you want me to finish the story? Okay. Looking for a reason to bring charges against Jesus, they asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "If any of you had a sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will you not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a person than a sheep?" I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on the person and how much you can sell them for. Therefore, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." Then Jesus asked them, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save a life or to kill?" But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. He said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with Herodians how they might kill Jesus.
Right. So one of the things about Jesus is that he's supposed to be the prophet of all prophets. Like, he's the last prophet, and he's also like head prophet, right? Mm-hmm. Of God. Well, what that means is that he's going to have to do all of the miracles and stuff from the Old Testament, except sometimes it's, pretty much one for one what happens. Mm-hmm. Other times it's more of a mirror, because if you remember, the thing that's been promised about the Messiah is that he's a redeemer, right? Mm-hmm. So he's there to redeem the Jewish people and give them everlasting life,
right?
And everything like that. And so this actually comes from 1 Kings 13. Okay. It's not an Elisha or Elisha story. Okay. It is just random prophet dude comes to King Jeroboam, and it's right here. So I'm going to read from 1 Kings 13, 4 and 5. Okay. It says, "When King Jeroboam heard that the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, he stretched out his hand from the altar and said, 'Seize him!' But the hand he stretched out towards the man shriveled up so that he could not pull it back. Also, the altar was split apart again, and its ashes poured out on the ground to the sign given by the man of God by the word of the Lord."
So this is like the shriveled hand undone.
Yeah, and it's like more. The reason why we know that it is connected is if you go back up here and you look where it says, "Then Jesus asked them." Oh wait, hold on. He looked around them in anger, deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, and he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And, back here in, let me pull it up again. Back here in Kings, he says he stretched out his hand from the altar. Mm-hmm. So it's the exact same imagery and everything like that, except, whereas God was dealing out punishment before and, judgment on the Jewish people, this is a time of redemption. So now he's stretching out his hand and it's being healed because he's believing in Jesus. He's doing as Jesus commands. Mm-hmm. He's doing it. And so this is like you said, exactly what you said, undoing what happened in the Old Testament, because Jesus is the Redeemer.
See, super made up shit. All right.
So it is definitely super made up shit.
You ready to continue? We're going to jump again to, okay. Mm-hmm. Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake, and a large crowd from Galilee followed. When they heard about all he was doing, somehow, we don't know how, because it wasn't through it had to only be mouth, because nobody wrote it down anywhere. Right. Right? Okay. Many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the regions across the Jordan and Tyre and Sidon. Feel like if people were talking about some dude all over this massive area, we'd know about it. Yes. We'd know about it. We'd have some sort of fucking evidence about it, because we do have evidence of stuff written at that time. Mm-hmm. And yet nothing about this guy. Right. Who supposedly everyone everywhere knew about shit he was doing. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow all of the evidence of that disappeared. Yep. Because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding him. For he had healed many, so those with diseases were pushing forward to touch him. Whenever the impure spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." But he gave them strict orders not to tell others about him. Okay. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. "Here is my servant whom I have chosen, the one I love, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will proclaim justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or cry out. No one will hear his voice in the streets," which everyone is hearing his voice in the streets, apparently. Mm-hmm. So that's just wrong. "A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out, till he has brought justice through to victory. In his name, the nations will put their hope." And that's Isaiah 42, 1-4.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe they put it in there like Jesus was really trying to low-key play out his whole Messiah thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why we don't hear about it from anybody. Like, he told everybody, shut up about it. And so everybody shut up at it. Because, that's exactly what happens in every fucking story that's told in here.
But everybody didn't shut up about it. Everybody talked about it everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Immediately. It's like, oh, hey, Jesus healed my dick up, y'all. Yeah. And so, that people were talking about it.
One of those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray. Hop, skip, and a jump again. All right. Mm-hmm. And he spent the night praying to God. When the morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated as apostles. Now, just to clarify something that a lot of people maybe don't realize, and I, in fact, did not understand the difference until later after I was not a Christian and studying religion. Apostles and disciples are not the same thing.
Right.
Do you want to explain the difference?
Sure. So disciples are generally known to be like people that physically learned directly from somebody or followed somebody directly. Whereas apostles were, especially, with Christianity, apostles are those that have received a vision from Jesus or received some kind of heavenly revelation from God and Jesus, and they are to spread the good news or the gospel of Jesus, being that he died, resurrected. He died, buried, and was resurrected, and that absolves your sins. So there's no way that they can be apostles right now because of how we understand it. Because if it means to be an apostle to be either, Jesus appoints you as an apostle, or it's just somebody that spreads the good news, then you would have a lot more apostles claiming apostleship out there. But as we learned from Paul's writings, what it means to be an apostle is to receive a vision from Jesus after he's resurrected.
Yeah, I think at this time, he's designating those are the 12 who will receive visions of him. But I think it's important to recognize that these are different things. So these are people that would receive later.
Right. And but I mean those aren't the only people that would. So I mean, if people want to play that game, then it doesn't explain why Paul is an apostle.
I mean, fair.
So I mean, there's a lot of problems with the assumptions that's being made in either case, other than this is bullshit. And it was written, well, let's see, this is Mark and Luke, mainly from Luke. So Luke was writing at the end of the first century in the 90s. So, I mean, this was written well after like apostles and disciples were existing. So
and none of them would still be alive at this time. So this is not something. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that people understood that there was a difference between a disciple and apostle in church, at least in the churches I grew up going to. These were kind of used interchangeably. These terms, disciple and apostle, were kind of used interchangeably, and they're not actually interchangeable. They mean something different. So I just wanted to make sure that we talk about that. Okay, so he chose 12, who he also designated as apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter. Not sure why he only renamed one, but Simon is now his bitch. Mm-hmm. His brother, Andrew, I'm assuming Simon's brother, or Peter's brother, Andrew. Mm-hmm. James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, the son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called the Zealot, Judas, son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor.
Yep. Okay. See, that's where he fingers him.
He went down with them and stood on a level place. A large crowd of his disciples was there, and a great number of people from all over Judea, from Jerusalem and from the coastal region around Tyre and Sidon, who had come to hear him and be healed of their diseases. Those troubled by impure spirits were cured, and the people all tried to touch him because power was coming from him and healing them all.
Damn. So he's like standing on a hillside. He's glowing, nuclear radioactive glow.
It's like yes. And lightning is shooting out of his fingers like that crazy old wrinkly fuck in Star Wars.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Palpatine, Darth Sidious.
Yes. Lightning is shooting out, but when the lightning hits people, it heals them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what if it's more like Raiders of the Lost Ark? So like when they open up the Ark and there's this light that comes out of it.
Oh yeah, and
it's all ghosty and shit, and it flows through everybody. But instead of like melting their faces off, it just heals them.
I mean, I guess it could be like that.
Yeah.
That would probably be better than the lightning.
I mean, I think the lightning, listen.
That would be cooler.
The lightning happened as well because if you think about it, like, I mean, this is an impressive sight. So he's got lightning shooting out of his fingers. Also, he's got a mist emanating from his ass. And that mist is the ghosty things from like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's traveling through people as well.
Is that mist stinky?
Huh?
I feel like that mist would not smell good.
I mean, it's healing them up, so they probably don't mind the musky smell. So,
I mean, this is a sight, and yet no one at the time writes about it.
Nope, nobody at all whatsoever. Even people that were writing about like religious cults and everything like that at the time.
I feel like if he was this big of a deal, and this was this big of a deal, and this shit was actually happening, someone at the time would have written about it.
Yep.
And just, okay. Anyway, so that's all for today. Next time on the Bible, we are going to have the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Now, remember, this is verbatim, red letter, what Jesus said at the Sermon on the Mount. Now, nobody was writing it down or recording it, so, you know, it's only
they recorded on one of those little, you know those things that have the little mini cassette tapes?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was recording on those. Anyway, and we still have that now, of course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to proclaim the Beatitudes, right? Because that's important. They're going to pronounce their woes. We're going to talk about the nature of believers and the sixth and seventh commandments. We're going to talk about marriage and divorce. We're going to talk about honesty.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about retaliation. We're going to talk about having love for your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Christian conservative right could actually use this lesson right now.
You think so?
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about giving and praying and fasting and spiritual treasures and the value of spiritual insight. We're also going to touch a little bit on the need for undivided loyalty, which obviously is really important, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a little bit about how to avoid anxiety. So maybe that can be helpful. About hypocritical judging, inappropriate concern. We're going to talk about seeking grace, which grace is a really important thing to Christians. That's kind of a big deal. And of course, we're going to talk about unpopular discipleship because they love their persecution complex.
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to talk about testing religious leaders' faith and deeds. And the crowd that is here to witness, that never writes a thing about it, is astonished. And we know that somehow.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if you heathens want to learn all about the Sermon on the Mount and everything like that, then you'll have to tune in next week when we cover it. So I hope that you guys will tune in then. Before you go, though, why don't you head down there and smash that like button and leave us a comment. And then also, I fucked this up totally. And then also subscribe if you like this kind of Bible study.
Yeah, for sure. And don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye.